Thank you very much and welcome back, viewers. As you were following proceedings there at The Hague, where the Gambia just ended its second round observations on the court proceedings against Myanmar on the genocide acts that it has filed against Myanmar at The Hague. And of course, that was the Gambia's Justice Minister and Attorney General Abubakar Tambedu speaking there. And of course, he concludes the Gambia's second round observation there with quite a very strong message and on behalf of the Gambian government. Of course, before him we had two other lawyers that were also that have also, of course, presented or defended Gambia's position in this case. And yeah, coming back to the studio and, of course, to briefly digest on what we heard from the Gambia's team to The Hague with regards to its petition and its position with regards to the mission they had against Myanmar. Well, Ibrahim, again. Finally, Gambia have concluded its second round observations. What's your own impression or feeling with regards to what you heard from the three speakers?
Yeah, exactly. It was a very busy second round, and Gambia had about 4 of the council teams to do additional submissions. And if you look at it, I would like to pick up from the Gambia's agent, the last point where he made recommendation that none of the parties' actions should be in such a way that it will aggravate the situation of the victim in Rohingya already. So whatever is to be done is in the interest of humanity. So this is a very powerful, call which one need to observe now. And looking at also the Paul Ryla's presentation, for him, his focus is the urgency of provisional measures. Yeah. So what should be done as soon as possible to prevent the discontinuation of genocide in Myanmar. And he make a long list of situational problems where he point out the constitution of Myanmar itself, creates a discriminatory, approach towards these minority people in Myanmar. So these are, loud calls that the court will have to look into and then consider, taking action upon. Again, it is just one way again because this is a second round. Yeah. So he who alleges must prove, and that is the situation in which Gambia is right now. Yeah. Gambia is taking up the case, and then they have to prove that everything they said is valid and plausible. Now, who knows? Let's see what Myanmar will come up with.
Well, listening to, of course, after we all had what Myanmar's team put on the table before the judges yesterday. Listening to the Gambia's team, including Ba, do you think they have at least tried to do justice to some of the denials that the Myanmar team were trying to say or to refute on what earlier on Gambia have said with regards to the genocide and the killing, the raping of women and all that happened?
This is exactly the point of Raila. He said, Myanmar might have had right to prevent terrorism or to conduct anti-terrorism activism, but does it involve killing innocent people, raping on women, trying to destroy villages? Are these definitely justifiable actions in the name of counter-terrorism, for example? So these are, evidence that the Gambia side is bringing up to prove that, indeed genocide occurred, and the government and authorities of Myanmar were complacent of it. So also, if you analyze what Ba is saying, when it comes to the, connectivity with OIC, the Gambia's agent, repeats loud and clear that it was their pride, it was their desire, and openly they have done that to pass resolution. Independent state and member of the OIC to request, solicit support from the OIC. And then 56 other states are backing Gambia on this because it is a cause for humanity, protecting one another's brother. So that is the position that Ba is trying to portray before the world, that Gambia is not regretting, does not have any cause to regret what it does, and it will continue to seek support from anyone who is standing for the cause of humanity.
Interesting. Julde, of course, the president have said that the court has heard the Gambia's case, and of course, message as well from the government read out there by the justice minister. Upon hearing from the entire team, four of them spoke today, including by himself. What is your own reading, of their arguments today with regards to what the other team have put forward yesterday?
This is more like a refutal of what the Defense Council team was saying. That is yesterday. They are coming on board to clear the air. And one of the things that the prosecution witness or the Gambia is actually saying is that, based on all the submissions that they made, the Rohingya, Madam Sue did not actually include sexual violence that actually occurred, in Myanmar, including children and women. And this thing is actually something that was obvious to anybody who is actually watching these things. So she said that she did not actually mention it in his words, Paul's word, because it is undeniable and unspeakable. That is why, it was not mentioned, that the violence against women and children. And another thing that, they mentioned is the discriminatory laws in Myanmar against other people, that they can, they are only allowed to be given birth certificates, but they don't have the rights, for citizenships. All these things is in contradiction to the convention. And another issue that they made a stand is that, the genocide that Madam Sue said yesterday, that some of the military men who actually kill these innocent victims are actually prosecuted. But he is actually saying that, clean innocent people, and then you prosecute those people within 7 months, those people are released. Is actually putting a big question mark.
They have some pictures where you can see those
exactly
10 people were tied behind, and of course, and they were eventually killed, and those were very, very, touching scenes to say. But then, like you said, after all, it's also going to be interesting to hear from the Myanmar's team. What are they going to come with?
And even Paul did also mention that, according to the UN, fact-finding mission, is that the government of Myanmar, they are actually capable, but they are unwilling to change the situation of the Rohingya people. So these things are all things that they brought in, and it's really complicated right now. Gambia has really defended its own position, and they made it very clear that, from the initial stage, they were against this thing, that it was not a secret to the Myanmar that, Gambia is actually eventually, or it's against what these people are doing actually to innocent victims.
All right, let's cross back to The Hague and talk to Brad Adams, who Gambia's team, as you listen to the arguments right now. Hello. Well, apparently it looks like we're having some technical issues to hear from yes, press, you want to say something?
When you look at the case as of 10th of December, that the Gambia authorities also, or the agents for the Gambia brought in there, you realize that still now, army generals of Myanmar are still culpable in the view of United States. 10th of December on the Human Rights Day this year, the U.S. government, imposed sanctions on some of them and warned that such human rights violation abuses should stop. So I think this is coming at a very precedented time where Gambia is just putting up a case, and then it countries like the United States is able to come up out publicly to condemn or to sanction military men in um,
I hear
Myanmar.
you. Yes.
To
You
be
hear me?
honest, is also a plus to the case. So all and all is, the case of Gambia is what has Myanmar authorities been doing? What have they been doing? If they had got some, local remedy in, I mean, satisfying the situation, it would have not reached here maybe. But in the view of OIC, for example, it is a religious group, and that, recognize the right or the equality of humanity, for example. So this is a point where Gambia is relying heavily on to see how best to, come about or bring about justice.
All right. It looks like we're good to go and back to The Hague to hear from Brad Adams, who is before the hearing started. Adams, if you can hear me now, after Gambia's ends its second round observations today, would you call that one a strong message again from the Gambia?
Justice system would be able to prosecute, investigate the crimes. And they made it very clear that this is not the case, that the military justice system in Myanmar fails. And they showed this really horrible case of the mass grave of 10 Rohingya who was shown in the court in a picture alive and then shown dead in a hole, having been executed by Myanmar soldiers. And the backstory is that the government had denied this had ever happened. And then Reuters investigated and published the story with government insiders saying it did happen, and they showed photographs. And instead of prosecuting the soldiers, the government prosecuted the journalists. And ultimately they were sentenced to 7 years in prison. And only after that outcry did the government prosecute the soldiers, but then they pardoned them after 7 months. And Human Rights Watch, we've been documenting early military abuses for the last 2 decades, and have shown repeatedly that the military justice system fails. And I think that the lawyers for Gambia made that case very convincing today. Another really interesting moment was yesterday, the lawyer for Myanmar, Liam Shavis, said that there was no genocide. But then the Gambia's lawyers dug up footage of him himself in 2013 going on Al Jazeera, saying that what had happened up to that point looked like genocide. This was after a round of killings in 2012. And the situation in 2017 is much, much worse. And I think this was a devastating moment for the Myanmar side to have their lead lawyer exposed a hypocrite and served his purposes in 2013, and now he's on the payroll of the Myanmar government denying their genocide.
We've also seen some Gambian evidence from the Gambian side is based on the United Nations, fact-finding mission, and now the getting into journalistic articles and opinions. So where else do you think is possible sources of, information that justifies genocide?
Is that a question for me?
Yes,
Yes.
I suppose you would have something to say on this, because we've seen as of
There are very many sources of information on this. The fact-finding mission is very comprehensive.
Yes. All right. Now that, of course, like you said, it looks like, of course, we are hearing some interesting argument from both sides, though. With Gambia's one looks very strong, as you said. Myanmar is also coming next with another observation, second round observation or argument, whatever. What are we to expect? Do you think they would come up with something tangible, maybe to put forward or to convince to the judges that all that Gambia is putting forward is something that they can deny? What should be the expectations?
I think we're going to hear a lot of legalese, a lot of very hard to understand legal arguments about prior ICJ court cases because I think after this morning, they will be too embarrassed to try to argue the facts. And Aung San Suu Kyi looked shocked and she looked like she was wishing she could be anywhere in the world except in that courtroom this morning. They described rape. They pointed out that the Myanmar government never mentioned rape yesterday. And they pointed out that she refused to use the word Rohingya, so she's trying to deny their existence. I don't think they're going to try to argue facts. I think they're going to try to argue that the prior court cases at the ICJ would suggest that the court should not find genocide on intent and therefore issue provisional measures. But I think it's a very weak argument.
Okay.
This is really about the strongest case that could be presented under the Genocide Convention for provisional measures, since it's very obvious that the Rohingya remain at grave risk of another round of violence at any time.
All right. Well, just maybe a quick one. Finally, outside the courts, after yesterday's hearings, what are people saying? Actually, because we have people who are, of course, supporting the Gambia's case, and others probably also, supporting the Myanmar's team there in The Hague. What are the views? What are people talking about, if there's any, or if you managed to talk to anyone since yesterday's to now?
Yeah, I spoke to people on both sides. There was a large number of Rohingya and there was a large number of supporters of Aung San Suu Kyi. They were kept separated by the police. So there was no violence. And it was actually very, fairly calm. The Aung San Suu Kyi supporters were flown in by the government. It's a little bit hard to know how sincere their beliefs were, but I felt personally sad because for years, Human Rights Watch and many others fought for Aung San Suu Kyi's release and for the National League for Democracy, her party, to be allowed to participate in politics in Myanmar. And their claim, backed by our investigations, was that the Burmese military was a highly abusive force that had committed crimes against humanity and war crimes, amongst other serious crimes. And now those very same people were standing in front of the ICJ supporting the Myanmar government. And it just shows that many people simply follow the leader instead of following their conscience. And those people who said they were for democracy and human rights when Suu Kyi was in prison apparently were just for Suu Kyi and not for democracy and human rights. For the Rohingya, it was extremely upsetting to watch Aung San Suu Kyi's presentation yesterday. I think they all knew that she would say what she said, that she would deny genocide, that she wouldn't use the word Rohingya, but still, it was very disappointing for them to see the person that a lot of them used to believe in come to court and basically deny their existence.
So, quickly looking at the submission and counter submission, do you think this is a busy work for the Court of Justice?
Well, I was talking to some of the lawyers involved here in The Hague, and they expect a decision in early January, only delayed because of the holidays that are coming up. Some of them actually hope that they might get a decision as early as late next week. I don't think they believe it's a very difficult case. There are 17 judges. Most of them would act independently. Some of them probably are put on the court by their governments. They're not expecting a unanimous decision because the ICJ the judges on the ICJ sometimes try to represent certain interests instead of just looking at the merits of the case. But I think they expect a large majority in favor of the Gambia.
Brad Adams, Executive Director of Human Rights Watch Asia Division, thank you very much for your time. Again, we'll hope to link you up again, probably before or after the Myanmar's team present their case. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm really glad you're covering it so closely.
Thank you. Pleasure. Again, Press, just quickly. Well, it looks like we are up for a very interesting moment again. He have said it. Gambia maintains its strong position and strong message, and maybe trying to, of course, further, put a strong foot on what it has earlier on put before the court. And it looks like, despite what Myanmar's team have said yesterday, there's still something to listen or to argue for in Gambia's case, especially listening to what Brad have said. So, what's gonna happen? You think again after we hear from the other side? Of course, that is
actually, and this is the second round. What just happened is a re-emphasis on the position of Gambia. Gambia had put up a case, and there is in no way that it will be there without defending it. So what is eminent is Gambia is insisting that genocide happens. Genocide occurred under the watch of the authorities of Myanmar. Nothing was done tangible to prevent the reoccurrence of the genocide. This is one of the primary points of Gambia relying on. The next thing is the agent for Myanmar tried to say that who is Gambia to come up with such a case against them. Well, but in the reply of Bat Ambedu, who is agent for the Gambia, you could realize that we may not be the neighbors to Myanmar, according to his words, but in terms of humanity, we share the same thing. So in terms of jurisdiction, he is trying to prove to the court that, Gambia has the right as a member state of the UN, equal to the membership of Myanmar to bring any case that is of human rights violation. So Gambia is pushing on this. In terms of urgency, the matter of urgency, that no one has denied so far that people have not died. Mass exodus of people had not happened. Women are not raped. Actually, villages are not destroyed. What has happened? Who has been held accountable for this? So for this, I think the Gambian team is feeling like something should be done, and now.
Well, Brad said the Myanmar's leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, looks very shocked, especially after listening to Gambia's legal team today. How do you think she would look like coming back for the second time, knowing that she is fighting something that's very difficult to fight, killing of people, raping of women and girls, and other things that happen, and which the Gambia's team have presented and provided some evidence on pictures. Do you think they would, she would be that strong and as a woman, as she's known for? Because some years ago she was seen as an icon, woman globally. But today it's a different one. And how do you think she would look like when she comes back before the judges later on?
This thing is very, very complicated, but looking at her history and her accomplishments in terms of human rights, particularly in the area of women, I think it's going to be a tough moment for her, because and sadly, yesterday in her deliberation, she didn't even mention the sexual violence that is happening there against women and children. And this is a call for concern for someone like her, like you said, so many people are looking up to her, you know, because she's a global icon.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be very, very difficult to actually defend her stance in terms when it comes to not only the killings but the sexual violence against women and this thing. And even this on the Gambia side, he did mention that because, you know, her silence are more than her words. Like what she said, what she's keeping is actually more than what she has said, because actually we believe that what is, you know, kept is more than what is said, because, you know, it's involved these vulnerable groups, these women, these children, you know, being killed, being raped, and all those things. You know, it's very sad, and I am of the belief that, you know, she is going to find it very, very difficult to defend. And interestingly, you know, she didn't deny that there was genocide actually, which
Absolutely.
is something that is in the plate right now. You know, it wasn't denied that there was no genocide, the atrocities committed and all that, and also the steps that Myanmar's government have taken in making sure that it has, you know, it will never repeat itself again, because even the position paper, the position of the Gambia, the submission of the Gambia to the court has urged, you know, the court, the government of Myanmar to ensure that there is no repetition of what has occurred here. You know, the stance, yeah. And also the demands, also part of the demands is making sure that they give, you know, access to the UN fact-finding mission or investigators, you know, to have access to these things and make sure that they have first-hand information, and also making sure that both the Gambia and the Myanmar's government do not do anything that will jeopardize, you know, the peace, or that will fuse conflict in Myanmar and the people of Rohingya, which I think is very, very important. You know, the stance of the government, they did not only focus on Myanmar, but also what the responsibility of the Gambia in making sure that this did not, you know, worsen the situation, which I think is very, very important. And evidence is important because our justice minister made a strong point, because yesterday we heard from Aung San Suu Kyi that, you know, this thing, Myanmar's government, actually, most of the evidence from the Gambia side is actually based on documents which are not even official. It's backing up from press releases, from the UN fact-finding missions, and all these things, which I think is very, very important. So the court actually needs first-hand information or evidence to actually ascertain the case, which I think is very, very important.
All right, Julden Jai, thank you so very much. Ibrahima, thank you very much. Press, of course, for the excellent analysis, and yeah, that's why it is. And of course, viewers, once again, thank you very much. Oh, and also we should say a very big thank you to Brad Adams, who is, you know, at the Hague following the proceedings, and also giving us some great contributions on what is going on right now at the Hague. And we just witnesses the second round observation of the Gambia's team to the Hague, led by Attorney General Justice Minister Abubakar Batambedu. And of course, later on in the day, we'll be back again to hear what the Myanmar's team is going to come up with, and then of course we will then see what's going to happen next. But for now, we want to thank you very much for the pleasure of your company, and keep watching iAfrica TV. Some interesting programs coming next, but join us again later when we, of course, together we will follow the proceedings at the Hague.